Hello, and thank you for joining us. My name is Bradley Butler. I am the Executive Director and Curator at Main Street Arts in Clifton Springs, New York. I am joined by Lyndee Deal, one of 15 artists in this year's The Cup the Mug exhibition, which is an online exhibition of drinking vessels, which runs from now through Saturday, December 7th. And you can view work in the exhibition by going to mainstreetartscs.org, and you can do that in two different ways. You can go to the shop page and just view all of the cups by all of the artists on one page, or you can go onto the exhibition page and click into each artist's profile, read their artist statement, a little bio statement, and see the cups that they have available on an artist by artist basis. So either way, just recommend that you do one of them. So I'm going to tell us a little bit about Lyndee and share a few images of her work. So Lyndee Deal is from a small town near Dallas, Texas, and received an MFA in ceramics from University of North Texas in 2019. After graduation, Lyndee began teaching at a community college as an adjunct instructor while simultaneously managing her own studio practice. She has attended several residencies and her work has been exhibited nationally. And Lyndee is currently based in North Adams, Massachusetts. So Lyndee, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, and thanks for being in the show. It's a great looking exhibition, great looking group of artists.
I agree, very much so.
Yeah. As I start all of these, why don't you let us know how you got into ceramics? What was it for you that got you into this medium?
Yeah, I feel like my story isn't super original, but just for context, I grew up in a very just creative household, very into crafts and DIYs. Very much of the mindset like we can make that ourselves. So kind of grew up with that mantra. But then I went to University of North Texas for undergrad and took a ceramics class just as an elective. I had never worked with clay or touched clay, so it was very new to everything, and honestly was not a big fan at first. There's just such a learning curve with, we're learning how clay works, the timing of everything. Then you add in working on the wheel and how difficult that can be at times. Um, so yeah, I think after a year of classes, something eventually clicked, and I really loved just how rewarding it was and how um, it has taught me kind of this resilience in a way and like how to keep pushing forward even if things aren't turning out as expected, which I feel like carries through into life in some ways. So yeah, I just stuck it out and it clicked and it's been a constant ever since. And I just haven't stopped. This year actually marks 10 years of working with clay for me. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's great to have to look back and say, wow, a decade is like a true like measurement. I mean, a year obviously is also a measurement of time, but I feel like a decade is like, wow, that's a collection of years. Yeah.
Definitely.
And looking back, I mean, well, I guess looking at current work and seeing what that looks like, kind of those, at least the work in this show, the two pieces kind of coming together, very clean. Looking back, I mean, what was the evolution of your work like over those 10 years?
I feel like I've gone through so many different phases, and I love that I've had the freedom to explore that, whether it was in school or through different residencies. I started out as I learned with atmospheric firing, so um, managed all of the gas kilns and learned all of the variables that come with that and how little control you have over the outcome because of the atmospheric environment, which at the time I really liked. But my work currently is not like that at all. So I learned or went through a phase of soda firing, did a little bit of wood firing, really just kind of figuring out where I wanted to take things. And I think it was mostly in grad school when I had kind of another click moment. I was making these wall hangings that kind of worked as a functional piece, but also um, had a voice in like the sculptural way. And I really liked having something that was functional but could also be seen as decorative as a standalone object or sculptural in that way. And the cups that I have in this show are based off of some of my grad school work where I was doing a lot of cutouts and openings and kind of exposing this layer underneath, um, which has kind of helped me develop my voice in a different way and finding different inspiration as far as color schemes and ways of making there.
Hmm. Yeah, well, it's interesting to hear you kind of describe that, like the way that you see the progression of this current work, because I kind of felt like when I look at the work, it seems like that would scratch the itch of, a sculptural element with that work. It's kind of it's not necessarily, I mean, it's definitely a cup,
Yeah.
but it's interesting to see where you took that and seeing the two pieces come together is kind of like, bringing the functional and the sculptural together in that moment. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And those are two distinct pieces, correct?
They are, yeah. I am really wishing I had the original. I kept one squiggle mug from the first batch I ever made, but it's in Texas. I don't have it with me.
Mm.
Um, but to show the evolution of how far they've come, I've been making them for about 5 years. So there's a lot of variation in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, is there do you do sculpture, like strictly sculptural work as well?
I have some ideas brewing for sculpture. I haven't really delved into it as much. Just the timing of sculpture is just a little bit different, and I haven't had I guess, uh, the time to allocate towards that. I definitely have some sketches and lots of ideas that haven't come to fruition,
Hmm.
but I think it's definitely something I would like to explore eventually.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
always interesting to hear, what people have in mind is like, no, just I'm doing this. I've got a lot of ideas on how to, do this one thing. Other people, you get the sense that there's something else, brewing under the surface that is a different thing, so yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Um, well, I guess could we take a look around the studio a bit?
Sure. I forgot too. I do have some cups next to me that I can show as examples.
Oh, well, let's do that first. Yeah.
Okay, not to throw you off,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
um
Because we
I
saw the
guess
photos, but I think it's always more interesting to see the
yeah.
holding them and describing them. So,
Yeah, sorry I blinked and they're right here next to me. But you were asking if they were two separate pieces. So this is kind of closer to what the original mugs looked like. So this is an outer kind of shell or cylinder that I carve, and then the interior piece kind of looks something like this before it's glazed and colorful. And I actually glaze these two together. So um, as things shift and move in the kiln, they can all kind of move together. I started out by scoring and slipping them and just ran into a lot of cracking and warping issues. So I found that this was the better solution for this route. But then I also got some user feedback and had a request for bigger handles, which I completely understand. So these are made in the same way, but the handle is attached to the interior piece. And these I do have to score and slip together to then attach the handle. It's a little bit of a trickier process. They don't always turn out as planned, but that is ceramics. Um, and yeah, these are my squiggle mugs. And I've also these are not currently in the show, but I've been making these kind of sipper cups
Hmm.
that you can use a straw with it or just sip out of it. I like using it for iced coffee. And
It keeps all the ice
uh,
in the cup and not, gonna fall out. Yeah.
exactly, yeah, that's the goal anyway. And then I make these tiny little sporty mugs. Um, a lot of my color choices and color schemes are based off of sportswear. I have an eclectic shoe collection that I kind of use as research. So that and kind of 90s cartoons are looped in there. So funky color schemes and funky feet and design are what I'm all about.
Cool. Yeah, I think in yesterday's talk, I believe it was Taylor Calloway was talking about that kind of callback to toys or cartoons, so that's and just how
Mm,
interesting it is that you kind of end up speaking to your own generation through your work in an interesting way that's kind of nostalgic. So
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think just at least for me, working with clay or just being creative in general is also just another connection to my childhood. And I think that's where the cartoons kind of came in. And it's a really nice break from reality sometimes. So, yeah,
Yeah, de definitely.
yeah,
We all need a break from reality.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Um, well, I guess how about we'll take a look at the studio.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I have a room in my apartment. I will get everything situated here. I'll turn my computer around. Whoop. So, this is my little studio. The newest addition is my disco ball. Um, I got that for my birthday last month and adds a little extra sparkle.
Nice. There was a
Uh,
disco alligator or crocodile. I can't remember which one is in Florida. I think it was alligator in Brienne Rupp's tour yesterday. So
oh,
lots
nice.
of overlap.
Yeah, lots of disco. We love it. I will say I also have squeaky floors, so you'll probably hear that as I walk around. But then you walk in, I have my wheel straight ahead, and I have a small collection of pots here. These are kind of just pots that didn't quite turn out as planned. I like to keep them around for a little bit and um, I don't know, maybe help me workshop through pieces later or figure out what needs to change to make them successful. Or I maybe just attached to them and not quite ready to part with them, even if they're not successful in my point of view. So yeah, a little work shelf here. I have my cart full of underglazes. I have more disco tiles that I'm hoping to incorporate into a piece eventually. Kind of just a bunch of odds and ends, candles around for future candle holders. And then we have my shipping department over here. We've got bubble wrap, just tape and, whatever you need to ship pots. And this is kind of just another work shelf. Um, Usually when I'm in the middle of throwing, I'll fill these shelves with fresh pots. And these are just my tools and toolboxes, and then more knickknacks and tools under here. Um, I used to work with glitter in a lot of my previous projects, which I'm hoping to incorporate as well into some cups. I'll turn you around here. This is my workstation. Got a nice big dry erase board for brainstorming, lots of quick sketches that haven't come to fruition yet, but we do have a sculpture here sketched out, so you never know. Um, yeah, work table that is full of clay. I work with stained porcelain, so I have to keep each one in a separate bag. And yeah, I think that is pretty much it. That is my small and quaint studio.
Yeah, well, it's really cool to see, what can happen in a small space too. I mean,
Yeah.
people work in all sorts of different scenarios. And the one thing we didn't see is a kiln. So how do you handle firing?
Yeah, I did a residency at Saratoga Clay Arts Center in Saratoga Springs, New York, which is about an hour away from me. So I currently transport all of my work there still and use the facilities there.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's always good to maintain relationships, that's for sure.
yeah,
Especially if they've
definitely.
got a kiln that you can use.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, and have you ever like rented in a larger space or anything like that, or have you always kind of used things on your own space?
Um, I have rented a studio previously, but it was also pretty small.
Hmm.
I found that I've always just kind of had a makeshift space to work in, and I kind of prefer it that way. This I know it's not um, ideal, but it's super convenient to like be able to come home, throw pots, take a break, and not have to commute somewhere to take that break. It's just a nice change. I've always had a commute involved to a studio, so it's been super nice.
Yeah, no, having a studio in your house is like the best. I don't know that I could do it any other way. I mean, I'm a painter, not a ceramic artist, but to just be able to go down to the basement for me, to go to the studio is amazing because I don't have huge chunks of time that I can, that would make
Mhm.
it worthwhile to drive to the studio. So it's
Exactly.
yeah, really, really great. So yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it has been a pleasure speaking with you and hearing more about your work and seeing your space. And I just want to remind people again that they can view this exhibition, all the work within it, through the 7th of December. And also, we highly encourage purchasing said work. So at this point, there's still a couple of cups left of Lindy's, so you could definitely snag one of those. And also the other 14 artists in the show, there's plenty of work left to check out. So MainStreetArtsCS.org through December 12th. So thanks again, Lindy, and no, just thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I have had a blast keeping up with the other videos and studio tours. It's super helpful to see what other makers are doing. So,
Yeah, no,
thank
it's
you.
it's a lot of fun on both ends, I think. So.
Yeah, definitely.